Hello, and thanks for joining us for the Pharmacy Cannabis Lecture Series. Each session is designed to deliver a small and in-depth dose of cannabis education. My name is Candace Hawes, and I want to thank all of our viewers and our customers for joining us today. That's from the Pharmacy Santa Ana, Santa Barbara, Berkeley, and now Isla Vista, as well as the Pottery in LA for joining us today. Today, we're going to have a really great webinar for you guys. You're going to meet the co-founder of Artet and learn some really fun holiday cannabis drink ideas to enjoy yourself or to share when hosting friends and family this holiday season. Our guest is Xander Shephard, the co-founder of Artet, who'll be showing us how to make 3 delicious cannabis-infused holiday drinks and also mentioning some perfect pairings. The Hey Now, Stony Negroni, and Kinda Highball are 3 drinks, a shaken, stirred, and simple pour-over that we'll learn today. I'm really excited to be joined by Xander. He's the co-founder of Artet alongside his 2 cousins. He's on a mission to even the playing field between alcohol and cannabis in social settings with an emphasis on creating products that balance the elegance of well-made cocktails with the benefits of plant-based consumption. Before founding Artet with his cousins, Xander spent 5 years working in creative consulting for award-winning brand strategy agencies in New York City. And before that, he ran a music festival in Chicago. Before we bring Xander on, I want to share a really cool video with you guys, and then we'll talk a little bit about cannabis beverages, moving into our mocktail demonstrations.
Oh, hey there. So, you love cannabis and you think you've tried it all. You've tried smoking it, which is social and fun, but it's not for everyone, no thank you, and it's not great indoors. You've tried eating it, which is kind of a one and done, and you can't really socialize while chewing. Excuse me. What if you could really entertain with THC? I'm talking about dinner party style entertaining. I'm talking something you can bring to Thanksgiving with grandma. Can't really bring a bong to those situations. I'd like to introduce you to Artet. It's a drink. It's a THC-infused aperitif. It's cocktail culture, but for weed. And that's what I, a bartender who might be a little high at work, am here to tell you about. So, what is an aperitif anyway? Simply put, it's a pre-dinner drink. One that stimulates your appetite and loosens your nerves a little before a meal. These drinks are herbal, a little bitter. They get your tummy ready for some good eats and your mind ready for socializing. The enjoyment of the aperitif, as with many cannabis products, is about ritual. Taking time to enjoy company, nature, art, whatever. So you're probably thinking to yourself, that sounds like the coolest thing ever, but what does it taste like? Well, Artet is a complex mixture of 8 luscious botanicals. It's herby, it's citrusy, it's a little spicy. Is that ginger I taste? It's delicious, but don't take my word for it. Don't take my word for it? Who wrote this? Drinking Artet isn't that different from drinking an alcoholic beverage, and that's very much by design. Every bottle comes with a stainless steel dosing cup, which evenly distributes 2.5 milligrams of THC per pour. That way you can easily keep track of how much you've had. With that in mind, it's easy to see how you can make your own cocktail creations using Artet. All you gotta do is sub out the booze with a little shot of Tet. Ooh, whatever I'm making over there looks good. And if you're looking for a ready-to-drink option, you can pick up one of Artet's many delicious canned cocktails. They're made with quality fruit juices, are super portable, and you don't have to make them yourself. So that's it. That's Artet. A delicious THC-infused aperitif made in an objectively beautiful bottle. What's that? You want to know more about Artet and learn about their new flavors and cool updates they're working on? Well, heck, you can head on over to artet.com. That's right. I love you. Oh my God, I forgot. I never introduced myself. That's so rude. I'm just...
I really love that video. That's a lot of fun. I'm really glad that I can share that with you guys and give you like a little bit of intro about Artet. Hi, Xander. Thanks for being with us today. Oh, unmute yourself.
I was saying thank you for having me and for letting us show our fun video that we whipped together earlier this year with some friends. We had fun making that sort of, old-fashioned explainer video about
I love
Artet.
I love it. It puts a big smile on my face. That's so cool. I'm a big fan of Artet. I'm really glad that we could have you with us today and talk about holiday cannabis drinks, because I know a lot of people are, consuming alcohol around this time, and we can really enjoy our time with our friends and
Mm-hmm.
our family with cannabis beverages instead. So you have some really great drinks to share with us. So for those viewers that are unfamiliar with Artet, I'm going to start your presentation, and then I'm hoping that you can tell us a little bit about how you guys got started and give us some basic information on cannabis beverages.
Yeah, for sure. And we have this presentation, and we can sort of use it as a bit of a framework, maybe jump around a little bit. So yeah, Artet. If you want to jump to the next slide, am I in control of it, or are you in control of it?
I can control it for you.
Perfect.
Just let me
Yeah,
know next slide. Yep.
Perfect. Thank you. So basically, Artet's a family company. Started by me and my two cousins. Those are the three of us right there. A long time ago, before we ever knew we would be, running a cannabis beverage company. And the fourth person in that photo is our grandmother. And the reason why should we use this photo as the photo for sort of framing the idea that this is a family business is that she's sort of in many ways emblematic of what we mean by a family business. Her artwork that she does in her private time is actually what we drew inspiration from for actually informing the artwork on our bottles. So, really sort of like capturing that full family spirit of how we run our business. But taking a quick step back, Artet is a cannabis beverage company, as you mentioned, and as people can probably see by the products in front of me. Our goal is really to create cocktail-worthy cannabis beverages. We want to create sort of beverages that can exist in the spaces and places that alcohol have traditionally sort of owned and dominated, but that they don't have any real intrinsic ownership over, right? Other than just the fact that, societally, we've given them permission to be the things that you kind of rally around when there's something to celebrate or something to commiserate or something to get together because it's a holiday, much like, what's happening this month. So around 2015, 2016, the three of us were, actually together over Thanksgiving. We were stepping out for sort of what has now become such a memeable moment, the kind of cousin walk thing that I feel like I've seen all over our Instagrams the last couple of days or weeks. And that was exactly what happened. We stepped outside. We were in Vermont. It was incredibly cold, and we're sort of shivering, smoking a joint together. And there felt like this disconnect where, we were outside, kind of isolated from our family. Everybody else was merry and having fun, having wine, having laughs, enjoying cocktails inside. And we kind of just created a question for ourselves, which is really to say, like, what would it look like to bring cannabis to Thanksgiving next year? So when we started Artet, it was not because we wanted to set out to make a beverage necessarily. We started Artet for very personal, familial reasons, which was just simply we didn't want to be cold on Thanksgiving the following year when we wanted to get stoned. And what we realized was, though, beverage as the format for sort of bringing cannabis to the dinner table felt sort of like the most obvious choice when we thought about it, right? It was something that could fit seamlessly into all the places and spaces that we all love to be around: a dinner table with friends, a dinner table with family members, maybe, drinks after work, whatever it might be, right? Our feeling when we kind of started to think about it was that, beverages are a universal socializer. Everybody knows kind of what it means to have a beverage in your hand and what it does to sort of create moments where you start to feel a little less, in your own world and a little bit more open. Let's get a coffee, after we work out. Let's grab a juice. Let's meet for beers after work. We wanted to bring cannabis into that sort of behavioral set. So kind of speeding things up a little bit here, where we sort of pinpointed on in thinking about creating a beverage that was going to be the format for bringing cannabis into our family's lives and then hopefully into more people's lives, was to frame it around sort of aperitif culture. And I'm sure I'm probably like 6 or 7 slides ahead at this point, so apologies for sitting on this one. I don't even know where we are necessarily, but what we really wanted to do was create a product that felt like it could sit on your bar cart, behave like alcohol, but sort of, marry all the benefits of the botanicals that are in alcohol, the sort of flavor profiles, the elegance, the aspiration, strip it of all of the sort of negative components that can come with that, behaviorally and sort of health-wise, if you will, and reinfuse it with cannabis. So we launched initially with what we called a cannabis aperitif. And a cannabis aperitif, as we sort of defined it and understood it, was a really beautiful botanical beverage that had, these really lovely floral notes, these warm spice notes, these kind of drier, more astringent notes. And the idea was to create something that could be enjoyed on the rocks, be enjoyed as, the base of a mixed drink, but give people sort of more choice and optionality over how they wanted to feel in a social setting, and kind of expand the aperture from either you're having a drink and that means alcohol, or you're not having a drink and that means somebody's gonna scrounge together whatever they might have at the back of the refrigerator and sort of be like, hope you enjoy this. We felt like there was opportunity to sort of create a sort of like a third lane, if you will. So that's where we got started, and it's actually I'm glad we're having this conversation as we're talking about this. The very two first dispensaries that believed in the vision of what we were doing were the Pottery and now Pharmacy Santa Ana, at the time Bud and Blue. So we're two shops that are near and dear to our hearts, because it was such a journey to create a product like this in such a sort of novel format. So, we really believed that if we could create something like this and bring it into the world and show people that they could sort of, dislodge alcohol from social occasions and not have it be the only choice, that there might be a market for it. And we've been really thrilled to be able to provide that benefit and utility to people. Fast forwarding to sort of things over here, these are our canned cocktails. All of our canned cocktails use our base aperitif, if you will, as sort of the foundational spirit. And the idea was really to create something that was a little bit more casual, grab and go. Maybe, you don't fancy yourself an at-home mixologist. We still wanted you to feel like you could be a part of the, Artet experience and Artet brand and family. So we kind of took the liberty ourselves of making some of our favorite drinks and cocktails, and basically batching them into ready-to-drink cans for people. So we have 4 flavors, all super delicious. They kind of run what I like to describe as like from dry to sweet. Or juicy. So in that kind of order, we have the Tet and Tonic, which is a really lovely blend of Artet, a chamomile tonic water that we created, lemon juice and soda water. It basically is our ode to a gin and tonic. It's not nearly as astringent and bitter, because I know a lot of people have concerns when they hear the word tonic and they think that it's going to be very tart. This is a lot softer because of the chamomile notes that we use. Really lovely, really refreshing. Some people even define it as like a grown-up, Sprite, if you will. Take that for what it is. Next up, we have the Rosemary Jane. The Rosemary Jane is kind of our play on a Paloma. So, Artet, grapefruit juice, rosemary simple syrup, soda water. It's got this really lovely sort of herbaceousness from that rosemary, but an amazing sort of, kind of summer citrusy refreshment that comes through from the grapefruit juice. All of our cans, I should mention, are 5 milligrams THC and 5 milligrams CBD. So that perfect kind of sessionable balance for somebody who maybe is just looking for one can to be the thing that kind of takes the edge off before dinner, after work, or something that maybe you can come and have a few of them because you're 5 milligrams is not necessarily your ending spot. So you can come, you could have 2, you could have 3, 4, whatever you want. We wanted to create something that allowed everybody to kind of participate, whether that's on the low dose side of things or on a higher dose capacity. The other thing that's nice to mention with these is in thinking about that sessionability, they're all no added sugar. They come, the only sweetness you get is from the sweetness of the fresh juices we use. That was something that was very important to us. 5 grams of natural sugar or less than 40 calories per can. So thinking about nutrition as well as their actual consumption. And the last 2 cans that we have, the Mango Ginger Spritz, which has been my personal favorite this year. This was a response to people giving us feedback, telling us that they loved Artet with kind of like a play on a Moscow Mule. Artet ginger beer lime, super lovely. Our concern when thinking about how we would make a mule was that mules tend to have a lot of sugar in them. So in trying to keep with this more elegant, kind of conscientious consuming experience, we needed to figure out how we were going to make our version of it. So where we netted out was basically creating a tropical spin on a Moscow Mule. We use mango juice as the base sweetener to give you that kind of nice rounded flavor. Pair that with ginger extract, lime juice, Artet, and soda water. It is super delicious. As I always tell people, it's kind of if a Moscow Mule got lost on the way to Russia and ended up in Jamaica. So really delicious. And then our last one, which we introduced in this past, I want to say June or July, the strawberry basil spritz. This is Artet, strawberry juice, basil extract, pink peppercorn, and soda water. So kind of a mad science maniacal thing that we put together, but it's really delicious. Kind of the way it's almost like drinking an English garden. I don't know what that really means, but it's something that for me kind of put me in the right headspace when thinking about it. But you get these really lovely sort of ripe strawberry notes balanced by that kind of soft basil flavor. And then the pink peppercorn is just like a little bit of a kick to it to kind of, again, make it feel more like a cocktail than a soda or a seltzer. And that was something that for us was very important, because in creating a product and a brand that was trying to aspire to the world of alcohol, thinking about Campari or Aperol or Saint Germain or a lot of these brands that exist in the world that carry with it some element of elegance and aspiration. We wanted to make sure that we brought cannabis into that space so that people who perhaps might be questioning of cannabis, not necessarily people who are already aware of the benefits of cannabis, might not look at it and say, oh, well, that's juvenile, or oh, that's not for me. We wanted to sort of challenge all of those base assumptions that people might have by stripping kind of their negative perceptions that had been colored, maybe from the school they went to and sort of, or the war on drugs or whatever it might be, reefer madness, and really say like, well, you talk to somebody and they say, no, I don't like cannabis because I don't like how it smells. Well, this smells lovely. Okay, interesting. I don't like it because I don't like smoking. Okay, well, you drink this. Well, whatever it might be. And then as you chip away at those things and they look at this and they say, wow, this is a really beautiful bottle. And I just drink it like I drink alcohol, and I just do this instead, and I can have it with soda water or with tonic or with, whatever. Like, those were the ideas that we wanted to sort of use as kind of the, I guess the cultural references to make people, take cannabis beverages a little bit more seriously.
Yeah.
So that's Artet. That's kind of how, we have decided to try and continue normalizing the idea of cannabis drinking and cannabis beverage culture. There are so many wonderful brands and products in our category helping to normalize the habit of drinking cannabis. And I think, the more we can sort of uplift all of the brands and all of the products and sort of tell different stories and think about the different ways and reasons for using cannabis, right? One drink might have significantly higher potency than another. Well, that's okay, right? If you think about the world of alcohol and you think about going into a bar, you can go into a bar and look at just the world of whiskey and say, here's a whiskey that's super high proof, and here's a whiskey that's much lower proof. They both serve a purpose. And I think that's part of what we want to do. And what I love about even this webinar and talking about cocktail culture and how cannabis can interplay with it is like, that's a very different use case and sort of what, and almost like expectation you're looking for from the cannabis in that product than say a product that you drink that's going to help you go to sleep and stay asleep, right? You're going to have different maybe taste expectations, different dosing expectations, different pricing expectations. They both have merit, but they have merit for different reasons and possibly with different people. And I think as the category continues to expand and more people start to help educate, why you might choose a beverage, I think we're going to see some really wonderful things with the products that come out, over the next few years.
I personally love cannabis drinks whenever I'm on the sales floor and people ask me, what's your, favorite cultivar that, you have right now or favorite edible? And I'm always like, have you ever tried a cannabis drink? A lot of people surprisingly haven't. And I personally am a big consumer, been consuming for a long time. And I really, really love cannabis drinks. And I wish I would have discovered them earlier because they're so discreet. Like you said, I'm not a drinker and it allows me to fit into social situations and kind of loosen up and have a good time and kind of fit in to whatever other people are. And I also really, really love the 1-to-1 drinks, like your guys' 5 to 5. I find that it really helps taper down the psychoactivity and kind of give me like more of like a chill. For me, I think that's a really great combination for a cannabis drink. So
totally,
I turn people onto this method.
Yeah, no, I think you're absolutely right. And one of the things, that we've also been very kind of keen on promoting is kind of, almost for lack of a better term, like cross-pollinating, right? I think that a lot of times when we talk to people, I'll talk to a consumer and they'll say, oh no, and actually this is a great slide to land on for this. Like a lot of people will say, no, like I'm not a beverage consumer. And I'll be like, well, what do you mean you're not a beverage consumer? Like, do you drink water? And I'm like, yeah. Like, all right, well, you're a beverage consumer. Like, I'm not going to ask you to replace your joint or your dab or, whatever it might be with Artet. That would be silly. But I do think that you can enhance your overall consumption experience by thinking about how these things can complement each other, right? Whether it's about the terpene profile of the strain you're picking and how that can balance with the terpenes and sort of natural flavors that are in our cans, whether it's about sort of doing the same thing with our bottles. And again, one of the versions of our bottles, which I can get into in a second, uses strain specificity and live resin from a specific farm and flower that we were really enamored with, and sort of how those things can play along with each other. But that's why, like I said before, it's about sort of setting the right expectation for what you're looking for a drink to do. And as you said, whether it's 1-to-1, and that just kind of helps feel more balanced, or how it can sort of take the edge off of what you're smoking or whatever it might be. I think that's a really big opportunity as well for the category to sort of continue to make inroads with people. Because I always tell people, I'm like, look, you're going to get thirsty if you're smoking. Like, maybe instead of water or instead of a beer, like grab a cannabis cocktail. Why not? And, sort of microdose on top of your primary form of consumption. For other people, this might be the main event. And it's beautiful to create an inclusive experience where whether you're looking for something sort of a little bit less impactful or something to kind of just get you over the edge, that you can both have the same product without having to ration out a sit or, kind of drink a million of them, to at least enjoy the integrity and quality of the holistic experience of what we put in here, from the ingredients, from the flavor profile, from the balance, and from, frankly, the benefits of the cannabis that are in there.
Yeah, you guys have thought about everything, the packaging, the ingredients. That's why I love Artet. So I'm so glad to have
why don't we, as I talk a little bit about the aperitif in more detail, we can sort of transition into also making cocktails so that, people can learn about that. So let me make a little bit of space on my makeshift set here. Okay, so a couple of things to know about our bottles. As I mentioned, it comes in 2 different versions. This is the one we launched with. This we introduced about a year ago. The base flavor profile in both are the same. It's that blend of botanicals that I was mentioning, right? Ginger, cardamom, chamomile, grapefruit, juniper, gentian, allspice. Really well balanced, really delicious. Drinks like a liqueur. You can have it on the rocks or as the base of a mixed drink, as we're doing right now. Each bottle comes with this stainless steel doser. So this is how you can, readily identify a serving if, you're trying to. For what it's worth, a serving is 1.5 ounces. So, a normal kind of cocktail jigger or, any type of measuring cup can also work here. Or if you start to feel comfortable, you can always eyeball it. But this is always like a good, home-based kind of reset. Also really useful for making cocktails, which I'll get into in a second. Each bottle has 15 servings. So in our primary version, that basically is 15 servings of 2.5 milligrams each. In this version of our bottle, which is a partnership we did with our friends at Astor Farms, it's slightly higher potency, if you will, higher proof. It's 5 milligrams per serving. So this bottle has just a hair under 40 milligrams. This bottle has 75 milligrams. They are shelf stable. They can sit on your bar cart, which was something we really wanted to be able to do. Have a bottle that could sit proudly in your home, in your kitchen, on your dining room table, next to the booze, and sort of command respect for cannabis in this world of mixology. So once you open it, it's not going to go bad. It's not going to lose carbonation because it has no bubbles. It's not going to oxidize in the way wine does. You can really enjoy this thing from first drop to last the way you can enjoy a whiskey or anything like that. So I'm going to use this version of the bottle for the purposes of making these drinks. The first drink we're making is what we sort of like to think of as our riff on a traditional highball. A highball tends to be, whiskey, soda water, and citrus. Our play on a highball, plus we love the name, just given the context of the product we make, is Artet, soda water, and then kind of almost dealer's choice, if you will. And you'll find this recipe on our website. On our website, it calls for an even serving of Artet and a dry, non-alcoholic vermouth. The one that we recommended on the website is from a group called Lyres, Lyres. The reason we do is just because they're the most sort of readily available and distributed in the United States. Really delicious product, a really nice dry kind of backbone that works well with Artet. I just so happen to have a different one on hand that is actually hemp derived and really lovely as well, called from a group called Aplo. So I'm going to use that tonight. But again, like with all of these things, whether you're cooking, making a drink, like it's somewhat up to you where you want to take this. And that's the fun of it. You get to experiment. You get to make your own cocktails. All of the cocktails that are actually on our website are cocktails that were submitted to us by mixologists, by friends, by just random people on social media that we then, took and shot and made elegant. But these are not things that we invented. These are things that people almost submitted to us, which is the beauty of creating essentially a cannabis tool for people to be creative. So this is a really simple drink, which is why I like making it. It is 1 part Artet. It is 1 part of a dry vermouth, or as I said, kind of nice light spirit. In this case, a non-alcoholic hemp-based spirit from Aplo.
Yum.
Smells really nice. It's got like, what's going on with this one? We got some verbena, some lemon, some good stuff. Take a little bit of ice, and then just top that with soda water.
And so that's what you call a pour over, is that correct?
No, this is more of a, I mean, I guess like in a sense, yes, right? Because you've got, I think we said we were doing a shake and drink, a stirred drink, and a pour over. Yeah, I mean, basically, this is just like a build in the glass type of cocktail. You don't need a shaker. You don't need, bar utensils. This is something that can be very easy, very casual, kind of like a, end of day sundowner type of thing. Kind of mix with your finger if you want. We're not too fussy here. And then the last thing is just a little lemon peel. We will express that. You won't be able to see it from there, but you take it, kind of squeeze in your fingers, release the essential oils, and there you go.
That's so cool. It looks so delicious. And that's the kind of highball for those that want to look on the website, artet.com,
really good.
And the recipe. It looks delicious.
Really easy to make. That right there is light. It's 2.5 milligrams. I can promise you that something like this would be, grandma approved. When we finally got Artet made it into the world, we did. Our goal, as I mentioned, was to bring it to Thanksgiving. So the following Thanksgiving, I think it took about 2 Thanksgivings to actually get it into the world, but we finally brought it to Thanksgiving, and we did a big, like, whole family cannabis happy hour before eating, and everybody loved it, and it was amazing. For some people, frankly, in my family, it was the first time that we had seen them consume cannabis. I think it was the first time that they maybe had consumed cannabis. And, you know, it was one of these things where it was like not forced on people. It was like, if you're comfortable, if you want, enjoy on your own terms. But what was so interesting was that in this format, it was very inclusive and it was very inviting, and it made people feel comfortable because it was familiar. So, you know, whether you do the 2.5 milligram version or 5 milligram version, or even just kind of mess with the ratios yourself and pour yourself a double, you know, it's easy to find your perfect pour and still make a cocktail that is balanced and delicious. We could very easily make a version of this cocktail that's 10 milligrams. And that's I think that's the part about Artet that I get really excited about. You know, people sometimes look at it and they see how we have to talk about the dosing based on just sort of, you know, the way compliance in the state works. But really, it's up to people to sort of find what makes them most comfortable once they bring this product into their home and experiment and explore with it. So this is the kind of highball. The one thing I wanted to mention was, in expressing that lemon, you're getting those oils, and those oils essentially are the terpenes that are in lemon. So that's limonene. So you're getting also a little additional kind of oomph, if you will, from those terpenes being expressed into the cocktail. You know, a little bit more of that kind of, I feel like they talk about limonene being a little bit more of the kind of uplifting and kind of, you know, social terpene. So perfect for, you know, a cocktail hour, perfect for kind of just, you know, welcoming in the weekend. So
I love it. I cannot wait to go home and make one of those for myself because it looks so good.
It's really yummy. Cool. Shifting gears. That was
so our second drink was the Hey Now, correct?
Yes, that is correct. So the Hey Now does involve shaking, which is also fun. The Hey Now was created by kind of a friend to the brand, a really cool mixologist in LA. He has an Instagram handle called Spirit and Spoon. Makes really cool cocktails. And when we launched Artet, we kind of reached out and said, hey, you know, you might find this crazy, but we make a cannabis aperitif. Like, you know, what do you think? And what was so amazing with him and with so many other people who work in the restaurant world, the reaction was sort of overwhelmingly like, just yes, like, yes, thank you. Oh my God, I never thought about this, but I can't believe how much or how badly I need this. You know, I work in the restaurant world. I drink so much. I would love to be able to drink less, but still make fun creations. And we gifted him a bottle, and his sort of mind just started going wild as far as things to create. So the Hey Now was basically a holiday-ish cocktail, if you will, that he got excited by. And when I say ish, it's just, you know, I think because of the flavor, the color kind of gives you that that feeling of, like, you know, holiday warmth. So the drink starts the same way, which is one serving of Artet. It's kind of a serving and a half, actually. It's 2 ounces. So, you know, again, this thing really comes in handy for measuring. So we'll do serving and a half. In his version, and the one that's on our website, he calls for 1.5 ounces of pomegranate juice. Being the fact that it's sort of, you know, that fun holiday time and whatnot, I thought we'd use cranberry juice. So 1.5 ounces of cranberry juice. Then it calls for a 1/2 ounce of lemon juice. Squeezed this just before we got started, so it's nice and fresh. And then lastly, it calls for a little bit, another 1/2 ounce of what we say on the website as a cornucopia simple syrup. So it sounds ridiculous. I will explain what that means. Basically, just as a quick primer, simple syrup is exactly what it sounds like. It's an incredibly simple sweetener to make. It is equal parts water and sugar that you bring to a boil and then simmer on your stove. As that kind of cooks down, it becomes a really delicious sweetener base, and it works really well in sort of, cold drink mixtures, so that you don't get those clumpy sugar granules, and it can be nice and evenly distributed. What's really fun about simple syrup is whatever you put into it will naturally infuse into it. So
Nice.
the cornucopia syrup that he created was this really lovely kind of blend of those warming spices: black pepper, cinnamon, cardamom, clove, anise. You could do anything you want. You could use none of those. You could use two of those, one of those, and you're going to get something really lovely and beautiful. We do a cocktail on our website called the High Plains Drifter. That's sort of a take on a spicy margarita. In that case, we make a Serrano simple syrup. So you just take some peppers. You can do jalapenos if that's what you can get your hands on. If you're super crazy, you could do habanero. And you just let that sit in the syrup from beginning to end. It's probably a 15-minute process. Could be faster if you were not looking to seep anything in it. But yeah, so in this case, as I mentioned, it's this like lovely warming spice syrup that picks up on a lot of those warming notes already in the Artet. So we've added everything in. We need to add a little bit of ice. Sorry for all that noise. So we put the ice ready to go. I'm gonna make sure it's locked so I don't have a mess on set. So people have different opinions on how to shake things or what to shake for how long. A real easy rule of thumb is as soon as the outside of the cocktail shaker gets nice and cold, you're kind of ready to go.
Transfer the temperature.
Exactly. I'm gonna get another ice cube, a larger cube for the glass itself.
I like your ice setup at home.
Thank you. I figure if we're gonna run a beverage company, we might as well, make this nice ice.
Ooh.
This really beautiful color. Now, obviously, if we were using pomegranate juice, you'd get an even deeper, richer hue. But nonetheless, looks beautiful.
Beautiful. Now, what kind of food do you think would pair really well with that drink?
Yeah. So, I mean, I think of this drink very similarly to the Rosemary Jane.
Mm-hmm.
And actually, if you look on the side of our packaging, we have a little story. And what it says on that what it says on the side of it is that we created this Rosemary Jane, which is a true story, for a friend's barbecue in their backyard. And the reason we did was because a lot of those kind of refreshing notes that came from the grapefruit juice and all of those things really paired well with the smoky kind of big, bold flavors of barbecue. And I feel like this cocktail does a lot of the same things and would kind of pair well with something like that. I think in general, all of our drinks kind of work well with saltiness, right? Because you've got like a nice, refreshing kind of sweetness that comes through in these that can be well balanced with whether it be olives, whether it be salami, charcuterie, a lot of the kind of like traditional
appetizers
and happy hour things. I mean, frankly, pizza, to be completely honest. But yeah, so I think, this specifically, I could see going really well with some nice barbecue. But yeah, I mean, I think it's I've even seen people use Artet, which I'm not recommending unless you really know what the heck you're doing. I've seen people cook with Artet, turn it into all kinds of glazes and things, but that's a whole different story.
Very cool. That looks absolutely delicious. And the audience even says you're making them very thirsty. That's wonderful.
So we have one more, and this is kind of both relatively easy, but sort of the most fancy and I think elegant. It's our sort of ode to a Negroni. Okay. So this is called the Stony Negroni. Quick backdrop for anybody who doesn't know. The Negroni is probably one of the most popular drinks globally in cocktail bars. It is equal parts gin, Campari, which is a red bitter liqueur, and sweet vermouth. 1-1-1. Stir it in the glass. Lemon peel or orange peel. There you go. And it's got these really beautiful kind of herbaceous notes, really kind of astringent from that Campari. Some people either hate it or love it. I actually personally love it. And we wanted to create something that, again, could, play in that same space as what you might find at a beautiful cocktail bar in LA, in San Diego, in San Francisco, in Orange County, wherever you might be, in New York City, but have it be cannabis based. So as I said, this is our ode to the Negroni, and all you need to know when it comes to making a Negroni, as I said, is just 1-1-1. You can never get lost on this cocktail if you remember that, whether it's a half ounce, 1 ounce, 1.5 ounces, 1-1-1. So we're going to use this as our 1-1-1.
Awesome.
So put in the Artet. I'm going to put in my pre-batched dry vermouth just to keep things neat on my little set here. And then the sweet. So for the two vermouths we're using, again, non-alcoholic. One is from Seedlip, which is a really wonderful kind of distilled non-alcoholic spirit company. They make really wonderful beverages. This is the Seedlip Garden 108. It's got this really lovely kind of English pea, really nice bright green kind of vegetation that they use in sort of a pot distilled process that then is completely de-alcoholized. So really lovely, really light, really refreshing. And then the sweet vermouth we're using is also from that non-alcoholic spirits company I mentioned earlier, Lyre's. So those three things in equal parts. A nice cube. And then all you do is stir and kind of stir until that ice cube heats up and sort of gets a little smaller in the glass. It's starting to now. 1 second. There we go. This has a really beautiful color, which I will show you in a moment. And then the last thing you do is you just take citrus of choice. In this case, I'm choosing to go with an orange. It is orange season almost, after all.
Yeah.
Never can make these as pretty as I see them in bars, but I'm not an officially trained mixologist, so I'll cut myself some slack.
Yeah.
Do the same thing where you express those orange oils, and there you have a completely non-alcoholic cannabis infused Negroni.
Love it. That's so cool. Not only do these drinks look really good, but you can impress your friends by making them because
Totally.
they look so fancy and they're really pretty simple to put together.
100%. I mean, I think the sweet spot is to sort of, low effort, high wow factor.
Yeah.
And, I feel like, Artet is able to deliver on that for people because we've sort of done a lot of the legwork on getting these botanicals in there, on creating something that is, itself sort of a wow moment when I know lots of people who use Artet as sort of like their stand-in, just kind of like, I want to buy a housewarming gift for somebody. Oh, instead of a bottle of wine, let me bring a bottle of Artet. Oh, we're going to dinner with friends, let me bring a bottle of Artet because, as you said, it's that thing that kind of can make you feel or seem, a little bit more in the know. It's something that can impress friends. It's also something that is a fun kind of activity with people.
Yes.
For people to sort of find their own way to enjoy Artet. I mean, I have a friend who swears by Artet with coconut water. I've yet to do it, but really loves it. Some people love it, frankly, with cold brew. Apple cider vinegar is another thing that people like to experiment with. So, I think it's fun to bring a bottle of Artet to a party or to people and kind of see what what people will come up with. I see a question here that says, what's the retail price? So we have two versions of the bottle, as I mentioned. And if I'm not mistaken, the low dose version these are before tax numbers. I know each shop sort of handles things a little differently with that, but if I'm not mistaken, I think it's roughly like $40, and the higher dose version is $48. So, it's certainly a more premium product, but one that I think, when people understand the craft and the quality and the sort of love and, passion that we've put into making it, kind of helps. And then I think the other things that are important for people to kind of know is that, it's not spoiling anytime quickly. And that's something that also gets a lot of people over that hurdle, which is like, you don't have to hurry up and enjoy it all in one go. You don't have to worry, as I mentioned earlier, that it's going to go bad. And you're like, well, I really only got to enjoy this once. You can sit with it after opening. We sort of suggest to enjoy it within 2 weeks, just because we're thinking about it from the context of like the absolute most fresh kind of appeal of the botanicals. But if you put Artet in your fridge after opening, you can preserve the integrity of those botanicals for a month and a half, without any real kind of diminishing effects on how it tastes. Unopened, it lasts for, a year. So you've got a lot of value that you can pull out of that bottle. And we actually, currently, as it relates to the holidays and sort of spreading some additional holiday cheer, we are running a BOGO on the bottles, as we mentioned earlier. So, for those of you who heard that at the beginning, at the time of doing this recording and everything, it's a good time to try it, to gift somebody, because we're making it a little bit easier to do so.
And I totally agree with you too. I think it can actually bring a little fun and excitement to a party. You bring one of these bottles as a hostess gift, and all of a sudden you have like a little crowd around you, and everybody wants to hear about it and check it out. And they might try it and love it, and then go to their friends and family and tell them about something really exciting they tried at this party. So I love it. I think it's so cool.
Yeah, no, totally. And I mean, the thing that's really interesting as well is that I've seen this happen live at events, is that like, Artet can, and this isn't just about Artet, I think this is cannabis beverages in general, right? Like, all we are doing is giving people control over how they want to feel. And that could be how they want to feel day by day, drink by drink, or just for the rest of their life. And what is so fascinating is when you bring something like Artet, whether it be our 5 and 5 cans or a bottle, you're giving people the permission to not always default to alcohol, right? Like, somebody might start the night and say, yeah, I'll have a glass of wine or I'll have a beer, right? But instead of every time they're at a party being like, I'll have another one and another one and another one, they can move to something that will still keep them feeling in kind of that social party mode, but not ruin the next day, not potentially lead to you embarrassing yourself in the moment. And for people who are just not interested in drinking alcohol at all, you now also have the ability to participate without stigma, without people asking you why you're not drinking, without people sort of going through that whole kind of, unfair dance of, oh, like, why aren't you drinking? The answer is it's none of your damn business why I'm not drinking. And now you kind of can, avoid that altogether by having something cool and exciting and fun in your hand that at a minimum goes unnoticed. And in a best case scenario, people say, oh, what is that really cool thing in your hand?
Starts a conversation.
So it's a great conversation starter. Exactly.
Yeah, I agree. Well, that's wonderful. Thank you so much for teaching us those 3 recipes. I'm definitely going to try all of them, I think. Do you have time for a couple questions too?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, great. So a lot of our consumers might, be familiar with inhalation and maybe even like typical edibles. How would you say that cannabis drinks differ in like onset and duration?
Yeah, so that's a great question, and actually probably should have mentioned that earlier.
No worries.
We have the benefit with Artet and the way that we infuse it of having a faster onset than traditional edibles. So one of the things that's really exciting about Artet, again, in sort of thinking about that cocktail experience, is that you will feel the effects within 12 to 15 minutes starting. So, as you're having a drink, by the time you finish that drink, you can start to feel the effects happening, and you get that feedback loop of like, do I want to keep going or do I want to slow down? Everybody has different ways that they feel from cannabis, either generally or sometimes day by day. What did you eat today? What didn't you eat today? How is it being metabolized? And the fact that you can feel that sooner just allows you to never get to that place that we all kind of try to avoid, which is, when you have a little bit more than you meant to. So, we typically tell people about 15 minutes, which we think is a really lovely perk of the sort of drinkable format.
Mm-hmm. I have a question too from the audience, and they're asking, is the cannabis that you use for the infusion, is it more sativa or more indica leaning, or is it kind of a mixture of both?
Yeah. So, in the one-to-ones, obviously you kind of get just like a really nice balance as far as how it hits. We have found that the aperitif itself has a little bit more of what people, I feel like, associate with sativa when having the sativa indica conversation, like a little bit more of that euphoria, a little bit more of that inherent sociability. The cans are really well balanced and kind of, I guess, sort of would exist in that kind of mindset of what people associate with a hybrid. The flower that we used for our live resin partnership with Astor Farms was an indica leaning hybrid. Honey, the strain is Honeydew Funk, and because it's live resin and it's bringing the full sort of plant profile through, you get a lot of like the long tail terpenes and cannabinoids that are present in that flower. So it is, while still a very social drink, we find it to be a little bit more of that kind of like calming sedative feeling in like a body high format. With Artet in general across the board, there is like a really lovely clarity that you get while sort of feeling the effects of it hitting you. So you never kind of like fully are in that kind of like headspace moment of like me, myself, and and I. It's sort of you just feel great, and you're almost, if anything, a little bit more locked into the people you're with, the food you're enjoying, the conversation you're having. But yeah, sort of kind of runs the gamut on feelings. But yeah, it's a great question.
That's cool. And what's your guys' best-selling SKU? Which product is the favorite by customers?
On the can side of things, I will say that the mango and strawberry are duking it out right now to sort of see who's going to finish in first place for the year. I'd say the mango ginger spritz really struck a chord with people. And it's a really, I think, kind of universally, it's more of a universally loved flavor profile that we've been able to really balance and refine. The rosemary, jane, and tet and tonic, the people who love it. They are true, loyalists, because I think that they can really appreciate the kind of attempt at taking the profiles of a true gin and tonic and figuring out a way to bring it into this, right? Mm-hmm. And same with the rosemary, jane, and a paloma. So I think the people who get that and see that love it, and they come back. But the mango and strawberry are sort of our much more easy sells.
Both of them are really good. So I would suggest both. And I agree with most of the customers. What states are you guys in? Because I know we have people watching from like all over the world, and we're here in California, but where else can people find it?
Totally. So in California, as mentioned, and very excited to say that as of today, we're actually available in Illinois, which we are super stoked about. Kind of represents our first expansion, if you will, out of California into a really amazing state with regards to sort of food and beverage culture and a great recreational market. So we're really excited for what the future holds for us there. And then in the new year, we will also be kind of keeping with the Midwest theme, launching in Michigan. So we've got our work cut out for us. We're a small, lean family team, kind of really just sort of building this thing from the boots up, and store by store, state by state, kind of introduce more and more people to the idea of drinking cannabis. But yeah, California and Illinois, which feels fun to say out loud now. And,
Yay.
as I said, soon enough, California, Illinois, Michigan.
That's so cool. I am so proud too that we could be the first outlet that
Yeah.
you can kind of make that big an announcement for. That's
I know.
cool.
Yeah, it feels only appropriate as considering you all were the first stores to even.
Yes.
So.
Yes. Right. Now I know you've got a lot on your hands, launching in the new states, but do you guys have anything planned like to release in 2023 as far as like new flavors or new sizes or anything?
So, in 2023, I think with California specifically in mind, some of the things that we're excited to be doing as more lounges are coming online, we're going to, we feel like the time is right now to introduce kind of like a lounge specific version of the aperitif, which really all that means is kind of like almost like an airplane bottle, of Artet, like a single serving, which will allow us to basically make a Stony Negroni in a consumption lounge, make a Hey Now, make a kind of highball. There are just regulatory hurdles that we still have to kind of deal with when it comes to large format products or multi-serve products in a lounge environment that has made it a little bit hard for us to bring that full vision to life. The cans, we do loads of fun stuff in lounges today, like, garnishes and, kind of fun things that make it still feel fun and like a cocktail. But we're really excited to be able to bring the full experience and vision of Artet cocktail culture into lounges with those single serve bottles.
So cool.
And then also more farm direct partnerships. So what we kind of learned and did with the live resin project with Astor Farms, we're going to be rolling that out across, Strawberry Basil first with a really awesome farm that we will announce soon. But yeah.
That's cool. That's so exciting. So definitely everybody keep their eye out for that. I can't wait to see those little airplane bottles. The little Artet bottles look so cute, like miniature size. That's awesome. And so like a last question, like if people want to learn more about Artet or get a hold of you, like maybe they have a retailer that they work at and they want to start hearing you, how can they get a hold of you?
So, I mean, our website has a lot of great information. I'd say, our Instagram, Drink Artet, is a great place. If it's not me, it's my cousin, sort of behind the veil there, Wizard of Oz style. So, that's a very immediate way to get a hold of us. Our kind of centralized email address, cheers@artet.com, is another great one. And yeah, like I said, we run it all of ourselves. So it's me, my two cousins. One of us is likely going to be the voice on the other side of that email, on the other side of that DM. But feedback is so greatly appreciated. Introductions are so greatly appreciated. Positive testimonials, negative testimonials. We had somebody one time email us and send us a photo where the bottle was cracked, in half. And they said, "You can't freeze Artet in the freezer." And I was like, yeah, you can't freeze Artet in the freezer. There's no alcohol in there. But good to know, because now we should maybe think about, putting something on the back label to say, "Do not freeze in the freezer." Even though I appreciated their desire to get a super ice cold Artet.
Yes.
So I say that in so much as, we welcome all the feedback. We, have ambitions and goals for what we want to do with our business and our company, and sort of, at the same time, I like to think that we are somewhat in service to the community in creating utility through the form of our beverages. And we can only get better if we understand where, we have room to improve or where we have opportunity to get inspired. So Drink Artet, cheers@artet.com. Those are two really great places to meet us, to find us. And honestly, you might just see us at a demo. We really like to be the face as much as we possibly can of the brand. This past 420, we all picked a shop for where we wanted to do a demo that day because we figured it would be such a great day to get out into the world. And I cherry picked and I chose Pharmacy Santa Barbara. So I was there all day and I got to see the team up there and I got to talk to consumers. And again, we don't learn unless we hear from people what they're shopping for, what they're looking for, what they like. So yeah, you might just see us somewhere in California or soon enough in Chicago if you swing by a couple dispensaries out there.
That's so cool. I love that you guys are a family business. I love the whole story and the whole reason for putting your guys' brand together, and just all the thought that you put into like the packaging and what that kind of means relating back to the family, and the wide variety of elevated tastes and flavors, and incorporating those herbs and stuff. Wonderful product. I'm so thankful that you spent this time and prepared, all these recipes and all this information for us. Thank you so much for being our guest speaker today, Xander. And then also say thank you to your team, your family, for all the work that they put in to help to try to make this possible.
Oh, for sure. I will. We owe it all to my grandmother. She's the reason why it all came to be. So thank you. Happy holidays. And if any of you have additional questions, like I said, drink Artet, cheers@artet.com. We will definitely get to them.
Wonderful. Well, thank you again. And thank you to our guests. I hope that we were able to share some information that will help you become better informed cannabis consumers, and that the information that we shared will help you find relief. Everybody stay well. Happy holidays and cheers.
Cheers.
Thank you, everybody. Have a great day.
Bye.